Hello, my name is Donny McNichol of Team Animation. I'd like to talk to you about the three project types. I'm going to describe in particular a model from Project Leadership 3rd edition book, which describes three broad types of projects and the characteristics around project leaders for each, the advantages and disadvantages and so on. So broadly speaking, you can look at projects in many different ways. One of the models we use is splitting projects into three different types. Each have different characteristics, advantages and disadvantages. That needs to be understood by project leaders so that they can identify appropriate resources and tools to manage the project effectively, as well as adjusting their leadership role. To be able to distinguish between different project types, you have to first underline the definition of output, secondly the level of structure and formality, and finally the level of know-how and experience required. So I'm going to go through these three different categories that collectively you can then differentiate three different types of projects. So the first category is around the definition of output. So to the extent which the output can be defined is clear and precise, focused on the project. So do we understand what we're trying to achieve and how we want to measure performance? The second is around the level of structure and formality at an organisational level. Is there a clear definition of roles and responsibilities and a hierarchy of teams or sub-teams? And do formal planning and procedures exist to coordinate, monitor activities and budgets? That's the second category. And the third is around the level of know-how and experience. So what know-how is available in the project team and across the project? Are there tough issues that need to be solved and resolved and so on? So if you put the three of those together, you can end up with three categories at each end. So on the left-hand end of them, you've got a concrete project, very defined, very understood, roles and responsibilities very clear. At the other end of the spectrum, you've got the open type of project, which is very ill-defined, very unclear about what exactly. And in the middle, you have got the occasional project. So what I'm going to do is go through and describe these three broad categories of projects and talk about each one of them. So we've mentioned the concrete, generally they're precise, clear, concrete outputs and deliverables from the outset. You have open at the other end. They're not clear in the early stages about what outputs are to be obtained, and there are many possibilities that need to be investigated. And in the middle, you've got the occasional. So they're typically used as vehicles for organisational change or typical one-off projects where they're not terribly concrete, but they're not completely open either. So there's some level of definition to them. So I'm just going to talk through them. So you take the occasional one as an example. The level of structure, you often do not have any existing procedures, so you have to develop your own. Project members will have other jobs as well. In terms of level of experience, the experience may be limited, an individual and organisational level, and can hold back the project when trying to have new ways of doing things. May frequently be delayed by technical issues, these occasional projects. So that's just to give one example around the occasional. So what are some of the advantages and disadvantages and so on? So let's talk about concrete projects. The advantages include having high levels of experience amongst project members. So when an organisation does concrete projects a lot, there are established relationships and structures, as well as using tried and tested systems and tools. They're in there, they've been done, they know what they're doing. The disadvantages include potentially difficult relationships with contractors, using systems which can be unproductive, use of time and technical dominance can push out other disciplines. So where, for example, the project is extremely fixed, doesn't allow much innovation and so on. Now the project leader in a concrete project is likely to bring a variety of different parts together to make the project a success. And you can see some points down here. Successful leaders of concrete projects prefer to work within a project as a clear structure, given processes, build a team of people whose experience are understood and you utilise, and so on. So it's a very well understood environment. The next type of project is occasional projects. So the advantages are There's flexibility in decision making if there's these kind of projects, less restrictions typically, because it's at an organisational level often. You often have support from senior staff and leaders. The disadvantages, you may have conflicting priorities, frustration at length of time to make decisions because of the fact it's slightly less defined. And the project leader is responsible for shaping the output in the direction they want. It's not fully defined, so they need to do more shaping. And the successful leader occasional projects facilitate collaboration to integrate ranges of different people. You want to bring in that diversity. You've got to work to bring the different types of people together and bring them in. And then finally, there's the open project. So the advantages here include that the individual spontaneity and energy that can come from these types of projects. There's often an increased level of innovation, low risk and low visibility. So minimal consequences if it fails. And disadvantages, there can be slow progress, low priority because it's very undefined, the project. And the project leader in open projects tends to work behind the scenes to facilitate and have a low level of visibility. And successful leaders often have work outside the mainstream, are very innovative, find new ways of doing things because of the very nature of an open type of project. So these are 3 different types of projects. I hope you found that of interest. There is this is described in considerable detail in Project Leadership book. Some details there if you're interested. And I hope you found that of interest. Thank you.